The Galactic Council had made their decision with cold precision. Admiral Zethkar reviewed the holographic display one final time, his forearms folded behind his chitinous back as he studied the swirling red mass of Kepler 442c. The planet hung in the projection like a malevolent eye, its surface scarred by volcanic activity and wreathed in toxic clouds. Class 15 Death World, announced Dr. Yelena, the consortium's leading xenobiologist. Her tentacles writhed nervously as she spoke. Gravity 3 times galactic standard. Atmospheric composition, 60% carbon dioxide, 35% sulfur compounds, traces of methane. Surface temperature ranges from -40 to +120 Celsius. Volcanic activity constant. Radiation levels, well, lethal to most known species within hours. The Admiral's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Perfect. The humans had been a problem for decades. Ever since first contact, they had displayed an alarming tendency toward expansion, adaptation, and most troubling of all, survival in conditions that should have killed them outright. They had colonized worlds the Council deemed marginally habitable, turning barren moons into thriving settlements. They had survived plagues that decimated other species, adapted to gravitational extremes that crushed seasoned explorers, and somehow made friends with the galaxy's most antisocial species. The Council's solution was elegant in its simplicity: send the humans somewhere even they couldn't survive. Kepler 442c would be their final destination. "How many are we transporting?" asked Councillor Vrex, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light. 5,000, Zethkar replied. Volunteers from their penal colonies and military surplus. They think it's a standard colonization mission to a challenging but manageable world. His translator made mechanical sounds that passed for laughter among his species. 3 months later, the transport ships departed. The humans aboard were a mixture of hardened criminals, disgraced soldiers, and desperate civilians seeking a new start. They had been given basic terraforming equipment, emergency shelters rated for Class 8 worlds, and enough supplies for 6 months. The Council estimated they would last 3 weeks at most. The first reports came back on schedule. The human colonists had landed successfully and established a base camp near the equator, in what their surveys indicated was the least hostile region of the planet. Then, nothing. Radio silence. Admiral Zethkar permitted himself a moment of satisfaction. The human problem had been solved with typical Council efficiency. But 6 months later, something unexpected happened. A transmission reached the outer monitoring stations, not a distress call, but a routine check-in. "This is Colony Base Alpha 7 to Council Monitoring Station Gamma," came the crackling voice of Colonel Sarah Chen, the expedition leader. "Reporting successful establishment of permanent settlement. Population stable at 4,837 individuals. Requesting updated supply schedules and colonial administration protocols." The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Zethkar's forearms flailed as he demanded an immediate scan of the planet. Dr. Yelena's tentacles tied themselves in knots of confusion. Councillor Vrex's crystalline structure actually cracked. The orbital survey revealed the impossible. Not only had the humans survived, they had thrived. Thermal imaging showed a sprawling settlement built into the volcanic landscape itself, using the planet's geothermal energy to power vast underground complexes. The humans had somehow learned to process the toxic atmosphere, creating breathable air for their habitats, while using the sulfur compounds as raw materials for their expanding infrastructure. More disturbing still was what they found in the planet's volcanic vents. The humans had discovered something the Council's surveys had missed: a unique extremophile organism that lived in the planet's hellish conditions. The humans hadn't just adapted to Kepler 442c, they had formed a symbiotic relationship with its native life, Dr. Yelana's report made the Admiral's blood run cold. They're harvesting the extremophiles to enhance their own biological processes. Somehow, they've managed to incorporate the organisms into their respiratory and circulatory systems. It's allowing them to process the toxic atmosphere directly and withstand the radiation levels that should be killing them. The final nail in the Council's coffin came with the humans' next transmission. Colonel Chen's voice was cheerful, almost conversational. We've also discovered some fascinating mineral deposits in the volcanic formations. Our geological team estimates approximately 4 billion tons of rare earth elements, including several compounds we've never seen before. We'd like to discuss establishing trade relationships with neighboring systems. Admiral Zethkar stared at the data streaming across his displays. The humans weren't just surviving on the Class 15 Death World, they were transforming it into one of the most strategically valuable colonies in the sector. They had turned a death sentence into a gold mine. Councillor Vrek's cracked form glittered as he spoke. What do we do now? The Admiral's mandibles clicked slowly, a sound that conveyed resignation rather than satisfaction. The Council had learned a fundamental truth about humans. They didn't just adapt to harsh conditions, they found ways to make those conditions work for them. They had sent the humans to Kepler 442c to eliminate a problem. Instead, they had created a new economic and military power that would reshape the entire sector. We negotiate, Zethkar said finally, and we never underestimate them again. On Kepler 442c, now officially renamed Haven by its human inhabitants, Colonel Chen stood on the observation deck of the main habitat complex. Through the reinforced transparent aluminum, she could see the planet's orange sky crackling with electrical storms, while below, massive mining operations extracted wealth from the volcanic landscape. Her modified respiratory system processed the outside atmosphere with ease, an adaptation that still amazed the scientists back on Earth. She smiled, thinking of the Council's reaction to their latest reports. They had expected the humans to die on this world. Instead, they had found a new home, new capabilities, and new possibilities for expansion. The humans had always been good at making the impossible look routine. Haven was just the latest example,